Unit 7's quiz, you have to, in the first set of problems, you're going to be multiplying or dividing. So if you look, I think it takes you through the first page. It's just multiplying or dividing. When you multiply or divide, if you're multiplying, you go straight across. Okay, you make it into one fraction. You're just going straight across. If you're dividing, remember, you have to flip the second fraction. So if this would have been a division problem, it would be flipped. So if you flip the second fraction, it turns into multiplication. So the multiplying and dividing should all look the same. Your goal is to factor, which you can, and then cancel out what cancels out. So here, there's nothing to factor. Here, there's nothing to factor. Down here, you could take out the GCF, which would be 4, and you write what's left in parentheses. And then here, you find two numbers that multiply to give you 72 and add to give you negative 17. And the goal is then to cancel out what you can and then write what's left. That's the goal in those. Okay, so you want to make sure you cancel out everything that you can and then write what's left. That's the multiplying and dividing. Then you go to adding and subtracting. When you look at adding and subtracting, you are trying to find a common denominator to add and subtract. So like in number 9, the common denominator is 5 and x minus 2. So this fraction needs to be multiplied by 5. It's missing the 5. And this fraction needs to be multiplied by x minus 2. And once you multiply them by that, you can subtract straight across. Okay. This one, the least common denominator is x minus 1 and x plus 4. So this fraction needs to be multiplied by x plus 4. This one needs to be multiplied by x minus 1. Okay? Pretty much the same in all of those for adding and subtracting. For equations, remember you need to get the least common denominator. So the least common denominator here would be 5x squared. So this one's good to go. You've got to multiply this by 5 and multiply this by 5. Once you've done that, you can cancel out the bottom and you just solve it like a regular equation. Okay. In 14, it looks like it'd be 5n squared. Here it would be 4a squared. Very simple to find the least common denominator and then just cancel them out. And then lastly, you look at the graphs of the functions, and Desmos should help you be able to graph it and match the graph and all that good stuff. Okay? So it shouldn't be a difficult one. It takes you through some of the rationals, things that we've done through the unit. You have your notes from 7.1, 2, 3, 4. It goes in order. It starts with 7.1, then 7.2, then 7.3. And then graphing 7.4. I don't ask you about the holes and vertical asymptotes on the quiz. I will ask you about that on the test. So on the test, you will have to take a couple problems and say, what is the vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, holes, all that. So I would make sure you have that sheet, and that way you know how to read exactly what you'll need off of that. But it should look exactly like one of those problems, just different numbers. So you should be able to tell, is it what type of, you should be able to give those answers. But there'll be 6 parts to it. So you'll have vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, x-intercepts, domain, all those different things that we had today. All right, so if you do you'll get through the quiz today. You'll submit the quiz with the notes things too, and then the test will come out later today. You'll be able to do that tomorrow. You'll be done with Unit 7. We'll come back. Unit 8 is exponents and logarithms. That's a lot of calculator stuff too. And then there's some random geometry topics that they have in Math 3 that are on the exam, but that don't have a unit. So they're actually on the pacing guide. They're called random geometry topics. So we're going to look at those. There's just a couple. And then Unit 9 is statistics, and that's what we end with. We're not going to have a big review time, but we do have review scheduled that day where we'll go through the exam problems, how to work the exam, because it's in class on the computer, how to use Desmos on the exam, how to make sure you have the things that you need to be as successful as possible. Okay, so that's where we're at.